Check, mic check, testing, 1, 2, 3. Good morning, good Missouri morning. Rise and freedom. It's time to wake up, America. Happy Tuesday. How was your day off? Well, you didn't get a day off? Just do what I do. Just give yourself a day off. It's easy, right? Everybody just wants, if you want to take a day off, you just take the day off. Isn't that how this works? Don't you start getting lazy, AP. No, I had a beautiful weekend. Took the day off yesterday. Thanks for being patient with me. But, we do have a newborn baby at home, and I'm trying to enjoy a little bit of extra time in these very special months where they never are a baby again after this. So when I had a chance to take a day off yesterday, I took it, and it was beautiful, and I don't regret it. Thanks for being here, though, waiting for me on Tuesday. And thanks for supporting the Wake Up America show in our 2-year anniversary. This is it, guys. The big one. The big 2. 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. Mic check. It's a beautiful mid-Missouri morning. Gorgeous. Starting to see the weather change. And I'm just thinking about all the wonderful things that have been going on for the last couple of years here in mid-Missouri. All of the magical mid-Missouri mornings. How many times have you heard me say rise and freedom? Ask yourself this. Can you count the number of times? Could you count it on both your hands or your toes? Are you relatively new to the Wake Up America show? Have you known about me since like 2009? I really was like starting to get kicked into high gear with my activism for liberty. I'm curious how long you've been around. The Wake Up America show is a podcast. I'm the host of the podcast. Duh, you're watching it. But if you don't know much about me, then contextually, a 2-year anniversary is like, yeah, woo, big whoop. I do this podcasting professionally full-time as my job, my full-time job. And I've been able to do it for 2 years, which maybe doesn't sound like a long time, but you'd be shocked at how little money flows in if you don't do anything here. If you don't, it's hard to buy $1,000 cameras and $500 lenses for those cameras and, make everything look freaking amazing. If you don't have money flowing in, and then you got to feed the baby, right? A lot has changed in the last 2 years. The Wake Up America show went from being in a dirty bar where I would wake up and there'd be like I kid you not, there were mornings when I would come into the Wake Up America show and there would be a drunk person on the couch in the bar. And sometimes there would be, I kid you not, there would be puke on the floor. And I would be sitting there and the whole place would smell like puke. And I remember Steffi, I am kidding you not. Somebody one morning decided while I was gone, we were out in the studio. Maybe it just happened a few hours before, when the wee hours of the morning, somebody had decided to sit down on our set for the show. Don't know who it is. And just maybe they were pretending like they were doing an interview or whatever. And just decided to hurl all over the chair where they were sitting. And sweet little Steffi, this is before little Hazel had come along. Sweet little Steffi just didn't even think about it. Just like little Snow White, like whistle while you work, right? She's cleaning up the puke, right? And it's disgusting and it stinks, but I've got to get the show ready. So she's just just whistle while you work. La, da, 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 da. And I'll tell you that it's been a team project. We don't get 2 years in without a lot of people sort of pulling in one direction behind the scenes and around the country. Some of them are regular guests on this show, like Camellia. Almost nobody has done more than Camellia. Some of them are like what we call whales, but not in an endearing way, not a non-endearing way. People like Andy Opperman, who have just gifted an arm and a leg to keep us in business, and so many others like Andy, and so many like Camellia. Some people have been with us as regular guests since the beginning, like John Miltimore and others. And you will get to see Camellia today at 8 a.m. Central Time. I'm looking forward to talking to her about how young people are taking over the workplaces. And I've got another great story as well that we'll share with you here in just a little bit. At 8:30 a.m. Central Time, I'm going to go out of order here for my guest introductions, which I shouldn't do, but it's just how I'm setting it up. At 8:30 a.m. Central today, we're going to speak to, for his first time on the Wake Up America show, I'm excited, Tim Young, at Tim Runs His Mouth. You follow him on X. He's very funny. He made a post last week about the corporate media talking about how he was offered the biggest BS contract he's ever been given by corporate media for his own show. And he told them to screw off. Go, Tim. So, in honor of the 2-year anniversary, we're going to talk a little bit about podcasting later on in the show, but I do have some big news and big stories we will be covering per usual. This is the Wake Up America show, after all. Silly shirts, serious coverage. Amen. Amen. Sometimes we're silly.
How dare you?
Sometimes we're serious.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm going to come.
John Rail as well, Floby Tenderson, and of course, Quest Fanning, so many others who have been regular guests. T-Mill22 as well, saying, been here listening since KWOS and won't scare me away. Welcome, welcome. Courtney Conover says 2016, really? Yeah. Quest Fanning says about a decade. A lot of people have been around for a long time. We'll talk about that in just a moment. I do want to wax poetic and nostalgic. But at 7:30 a.m. Central, we do have a special guest. We're going to speak to Aaron Sepulveda this morning on the show about, we haven't talked to him since there was some big news with Javier Milei. He is going to give us a Javier Milei update on what's going on in Argentina. Apparently, Elon Musk is saying lots of nice things about Javier Milei. I haven't been able to see or read that story yet. However, I'm following the case of X, aka Twitter, is banned in Brazil. Yes. So the question is, how do people respond when things like this happen? We're looking forward to hearing from Aaron Sepulveda about the battle between Elon Musk and Brazil's judge who is striking the ban. But it is eerie and sort of fascinating how on one hand you have, I'm sure that people will say this is an apples to oranges comparison, but I think there is a comparison to be made because we are talking about banning apps here in the United States. And before you get all lost and it's not the same, it's China, blah, 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 TikTok. Okay. Yes, I get it. It's the same concept though here, banning apps, right? We don't like, people are engaging in free speech. Is there espionage? Yes, probably. Does espionage occur when you're talking in public as well? So what kinds of speech are not covered is the question. And I think that it sets a dangerous precedent for governments to ban apps that people use publicly to communicate with one another, right? So the medium, I don't know. I think once you set a precedent for banning an entire medium, like a social media platform, then the government's going to you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. That's just my take on it. And you already knew that I was going to go there. This is the Wake Up America show. We would fight for American freedom. Ding, dang it. John in KC says he stumbled upon me when KWOS popped up one day on Facebook. I tuned in and was hooked. The rest is history. And then you became a licensed pilot in that time, John. So much has changed, remember? You've really matured as well into, added bits to your character. And you've been at one point, remember, John, you were mad at us. So you went away for a little while and you're like, send us an angry message. But now you're back and we're friends again. Welcome, 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 welcome. We're glad to have all of our regular friends hanging out with us in the chat. But can I ask you a question? Have you clicked the like button yet? Come on, baby. It's time. Click the like button. And we will be able to, we're still looking at, sorry, sometimes the chat can be quite distracting. Let me just try and focus here. 2 years ago, I decided to start this podcast thinking that this is an extremely risky venture, and the chances of me doing this professionally and still being around a year later, or thinking I didn't even think 2 years later. I was just trying to get to the next month. It required a massive investment in the beginning. I had to go around asking everybody to go ahead and get signed up before the show had really kicked into gear to start signing up for monthly subscriptions. I had set up a donation page to get the podcast on its feet because once people had found out that I had left KWOS, they were absolutely. People were clamoring. They were like, get back on air, Austin. We need to have you have your own show. And I thought to myself, well, I really love my schedule. I like getting up early, and I like talking to them people who are on their way to work and getting ready. I identify with the morning crowd. Why not continue to do this? Because like Tim Young is going to talk about later, these corporate jobs, I could have gone and gotten, corporate, maybe radio jobs in some market somewhere, moved to Tennessee or who knows, maybe you go back to a big city, right, and just kind of disappear into the media mush, right? Maybe, and I wouldn't have had all the control over my show. But I asked myself, do I have the capability to do this? I think I do. Yes. Do I have the financial capability to do this? That's always a little bit more in doubt. Can you actually turn a podcast into a profitable venture and then continue to sustain that podcast over time in basically running a network media model, in the sense that, before I launched 2 new shows, right, and we officially become a network, you have to operate like you are a network. I had to pull on all my contacts, all of my connections, come on my show, join me live. And it's very hard to convince people to get their butts up early and come onto a podcast, right? But if I use only 20 minutes of their time or 25 minutes of their time, and I keep it short and I make it professional, and I work with pros that I know will be there on time and be there live. This is not a pre-recorded show. We are live, people. Good morning. It's the Wake Up America show, and you're looking at me in pretty darn near real time, however long it takes for the photons and protons and nucleons and the mitochondria as the powerhouses of the cell to get from my end to your end. And boy, oh boy, do you want me to find your end? If the Wake Up America show is anything, it is a show designed to spread ideas and to spark meaningful conversations and discussions, and to question not only mainstream thought, but also alternative to the mainstream thought. I think that frequently in especially alternative media like this, in the podcasting world, there can be echo chambers and NPCs and people who are not good actors, just as much as there is in the mainstream media world. And does money corrupt things to some extent? Sure, it does. I mean, it's really the people that are corrupt or corruptible. The money is just the medium. But for some people, it's not about money. And you might kind of laugh to think that, oh, well, is there women or fame in podcasting? I mean, yeah, there is. But instead of chasing, women and fame, I decided to settle down and have a family and have a child, start a family, to run this professionally as a business, to try and invest back into the business like you would treat it as any other kind of business you would run, a laundromat, a storage facility, whatever. The Wake Up America show, it's an exotic boutique business for sure, but I try and run it as professionally as possible, try and treat people that I do business with, like Walton and Johnson out of Texas, and my employee who shall not be named, who does a terrific job, who just works so hard to try and support our business operations. And, like people like the old book guy, Roger, I believe, says, congrats on 2 years. I was also a regular listener at KWOS days. I think it was so important that I did that I did the KWOS, the radio station, for a few years. And I love that it's a Missouri audience. Many of you are from my beautiful home state, so you know where I am when I'm broadcasting the Wake Up America show in Jefferson City, right in the heart of Missouri, in the heart of the United States. And in my heart beats the heart of a true American. Not a patriot, not saying I'm not a patriot. I just consider myself to be somewhat patriotic. And Amy, if you're out there and you heard me say that, you get the joke. We've got a lot of freedom fighting left to go. If we are here 2 years now, and think about where we'll be 2 years in the future. You've seen how responsible I can be and what I can do with one show. Just wait until you see what I can do with 3. You ain't seen nothing yet, baby. We've got 2 more wonderful years to go. And then maybe 2 after that. Who knows? Keep supporting the Wake Up America show as you have, and I'm grateful for all of you who have helped us to get to the point that we are at. All right. The big story. Latest swing state polls suggest Trump could score decisive victory against Kamala. This is anybody's race. Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, at the end of the day, this is going to come down to a few states, and we don't know how Pennsylvania is going to go. If Donald Trump wins it, he has a great chance of winning. If he loses, it's probably not going to happen. It's probably really all down on to Pennsylvania. Are some other swing states possibly going to make a difference, like Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, Detroit? Speaking of Michigan, Detroit, I'm laughing at this video showing Kamala Harris and how she speaks with her black accent in two different locations. Kamala Harris speaking in Detroit versus Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a few hours later. The same speech. Well, I'll just let you take a listen and you be the judge.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
You better thank a union member for vacation time. They don't really sound all that enthusiastic. Here's the same speech a couple hours later. Take a listen.
Thank unions for paid family leave. Thank unions for your vacation time. Because what we know, thank unions for sick leave.
I'm just like,
thank
what?
Unions for sick leave. Thank unions for paid family leave.
Thank you. Thank you.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave.
Why do they do this? Do they think anyone, do you think people don't notice? And also, does it work? I guess is a question. Thank you, L-Dubs, for the donation, brother. Hillary did that ish, and it was so cringe, says Dad Bob Baboon. Yes, exactly. Thank you, guys. I mean, are there people, they really think people are stupid. That's the thing, is that they really think you're stupid. And in some cases, they're right. We are. Some people, remember the George Carlin joke? Half of the people that you meet are idiots, and then half of them, average amount of people are dumb, and then, or like average, or that like the other half is dumber than them, or something like that. I don't remember how it goes. I like this meme though. Kamala in Detroit versus Kamala in Pittsburgh. Dave Chappelle on the left with the dreads, and then Dave Chappelle on the right in whiteface, which I'm highly offended. Oh my God, can you whiteface? It's so racist. Are we having fun here on the Wake Up America show yet? Oh my God, that headline just kills me. Here's 3 minutes of Kamala Harris, supercut of Kamala Harris doing the affected black accent.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
By the way, white people do this, and I can't help but wonder, what are the black people in the audience thinking? Do they know that this person is trying to do it? Because I do see white people doing it, like Hillary and things, and you kind of get a little bit of affectation in your voice and stuff. I don't know. Does she have hot sauce in her purse, says Nelson65? Yeah. Nelson, you're a funny guy.
Let's just get through the next 64 days. How about that?
Let's just get through the next 64 days. Get to get some crawfish etouffee. You know what I'm saying? All right. Thank you, John Rail, for becoming a monthly supporter. Appreciate you, man.
And you all helped us win in 2020. Is describing
crap.
Work is good work. The thing that we like about hard work is we have fun doing hard work.
There's Tim Waltz.
You want to see people testifying?
Remember Biden Harris? Aww. Remember when Joe Biden was running for president of the United States a few weeks ago? Yeah, John Rail, about the monthly sub. The monthly subscriptions, I think if you don't automatically renew them, they don't automatically renew on Rumble. So you have to continue to re-up them to accept the monthly subscription to the Wake Up America show, which is a good reminder, guys. If you're not already, get like Quantum Kitty and John Rail, become a monthly supporter. We'd appreciate it. Thank you. 2 years in. If you want to see 2 year more, become a monthly supporter. All right, we got Aaron Sepulveda coming to join us in just a few minutes. You don't want to miss it. We're talking about Elon Musk's Battle of Brazil when we get back on the Wake Up America show's 2-year anniversary on the For Liberty Network.
And I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor of your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
Welcome to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every note tells a story. We embrace all singers, from the enthusiastic shower vocalists to aspiring stars, ensuring each voice finds its unique rhythm and tone. Are you ready to elevate your voice? Visit petersonvoicestudio.com and sign up for remote lessons tailored just for you. Let's begin this melodious journey together.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks, just pure patriotic pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at ap4libertyshop.com. Good mid-Missouri morning. Rise in freedom. It's time to wake up, America. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. If you haven't already, click that like button. If today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, you came at a great time. Today is officially our 2-year anniversary of streaming this show live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. Okay, well, I took yesterday off. I'm allowed. It's been a hard slog getting to this point, but so many people like yourself who tune in, who click the like button, who follow the channel, who become monthly supporters and purchase items at forlibertyshop.com have helped me to get here, for me to not only build this network with 2 new shows coming this fall, but also to build my family with our brand new baby girl, Hazel Rose Peterson, born a little over a month ago. So many wonderful things happening in my life. Hope things are happening wonderfully for you as well. If you're an Argentine, things are going very well. If you're living in Brazil, perhaps not so much. One of our friends of the show who's helped us to get here for this 2-year anniversary, Aaron Sepulveda, joining us live. He's an economist from Texas, and he's all about that freedom stuff. He's here with us now. Good morning, Aaron. It's nice to see you again.
Good morning, guys. Thank you for the invitation.
Aaron, happy to have you here, brother. Let's talk about what's happening in Brazil. A judge has stepped in and forced the closure of X to be available to citizens of Brazil to be able to communicate with people like yourself or myself, watch this show, hear what's happening in the United States, with that to have a free conversation with us about Elon Musk and his platform, and for us to be able to communicate with their citizens. If we want to do it, we can still do it on other websites, some people might say. And many users, as the Wall Street Journal is reporting, are flocking to other social media apps. But not everybody's backing down. Not everybody's giving up. Some Brazilians are standing up. Do they have a chance to fight back? Is there a chance that, that X will be safe in free speech, will be safe in Brazil? Give us your analysis of the political situation as it lies.
Okay. Hello, guys. Just so you guys know, I not as an expert on Brazil as I'm from Argentina, because the language there's a little bit
Portuguese.
I cannot get into details.
Portuguese.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There are details that I can't get into, like in Argentina, I can go into every single detail you can imagine. So if I make a mistake, please correct me in the comment sections. We actually want to learn these details. Just so you guys understand what's going on, the big picture, so you guys understand how the left works in Latin America in general, is through democratic elections, they get to power, and little by little, they try to get they try to politicize the institutions such as the Supreme Court, the central bank, things that usually don't get to be politicized, or we try to keep them as far away from possible from whatever the president wants that day. So little by little, they start taking over and getting rid of all independence. And so the president, little by little, has power over everything. In Brazil, specifically, that the left is right now in power, they were able to get into the Supreme Court, bunch of judges that just do whatever Lula wants, who is the president, the left-wing president of Brazil. The name of this specific judge that has been making a big mess, I have a news article from 2 years ago. And this judge from Brazil in the Supreme Court, let me give you the name, Alexander de Moraes. 2 years ago, I can read to you this news story. The dictatorship of the Supreme Court in Brazil, anti-Bolsonaro judge ordered to block Telegram in all of Brazil. 2 years ago. This is not new. Everyone knew the kind of stuff they do in the judicial power, and there's a bunch of stories coming out of it. If that was 2 years ago, imagine how things work out later on.
So an anti-Bolsonaro judge, just for my audience who might not know, study Latin American politics. In Brazil, Bolsonaro is a more right-wing populist style, Trump style candidate on the right, who was the president for a while. He was driven from power. He's still vying for power, if I understand it, Aaron, to some extent. But this judge and the leftists have retaken control of the country to a large extent. And as I understand it now, the leftists have total control of the government. And therefore, this judge had the power and the authority to remove X as a platform in the country.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the problem. When the governmental institutions that usually we want to get them politicized the least. Just so you guys, for example, as much as we all hate the Fed for technical reasons, we actually have a very decent central bank compared to every single other one. And you guys pretty
Boo
much
this
know
man. Boo. You can never say
Imagine
anything
if-
nice about the Fed on my show. Sorry, without a
I
boo.
know, right? I'm sorry about that. I'm the one that hates it. Trust me. I'm the first one. But imagine our Fed is so good compared to other central banks that Argentines rather use the dollar than their local currency. So those are the type of things. And why? Because long time ago, leftists started to infiltrate all institutions in Argentina, including the central bank, so that the president could do whatever he wanted with the central bank. It's no different than what is happening right now in Brazil. Little by little started taking over every single institution, even the ones that are supposed to be somewhat independent of electoral politics. They want to politicize everything. And the extreme case is Venezuela, where all of the Supreme Court, they're just handpicked by Maduro himself. Here, they're doing exactly the same thing. And as you said, the institutionality in Brazil has collapsed so much that one judge in the Supreme Court has the right to close up an entire website altogether. Just imagine how bad things are. That is the problem. We do have to fight back all throughout the world because this is exactly what everybody wants. And just think about it every single time.
And I want to talk about the global. I want to talk about the global implications of something like this, especially here in the United States.
Oh,
but
they get the Telegram guy, right? If I remember correctly.
Telegram, yes, they arrested the founder of the Telegram app, for example. Another chilling example of anti-free speech behavior by Western nations. That was in France. Yeah. I mean, it's not like it happened in Russia or China. You'd be like, they disappear them. You wouldn't have heard about it if it was in those countries. But here's the thing. It's technology, right? So can't they just use some technology to do an end run around their own government? If they want to use X, it's possible to use X through things like virtual private networks, right?
Yes, and they're trying to make those ones illegal too. So it looks, everything is like any solution you can imagine. There you go. So it looks like yesterday I read, and some of the Brazilians that we're happy to have you guys right now, if you guys can confirm with me, because it's like live, on the ground information. It looks like they couldn't really make VPN illegal in Brazil, so there's still some space for Brazilians to try to find ways to interact in X. But what's the problem? If you have your name, your persona in X, and you post something using VPN, they're gonna go look for you.
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah,
it's one way or another. They're trying to make life difficult for any kind of disagreement. And then think about this: how the implications go along. In the United States, I already have one fake economist. I don't even remember his name. Whatever, very short guy. I can't remember. He used to work with.
Oh, Robert Reich.
SML, yeah, that one, exactly.
The one who, the dwarf.
He's a fake economist. He's not an economist. You guys know that he's an economist, but he's not. He doesn't have a degree on that, on economics. And then another one, I don't even remember the name. We already have prominent people in the United States saying that they have to discipline or something like that. Elon Musk, as if he was a little kid, like they're literally trying to be everyone's parents, and that's people in the United States, guys. We cannot let it. Like Brazil, Argentina, Venezuela, even more so. They're we call it canaries, right? In the
canary in the coal mine. Yes. Being an economist is like being a lady. If you have to tell people you are, you aren't. Just kidding. It's just some Margaret Thatcher quote. Good morning. Good mid-Missouri morning. And good morning from Texas, where Aaron Sepulveda is joining us live this morning to talk to us about the ban of X platform on Brazil. I saw that the founder of Rumble as well, Chris Pavlovski, announced that he's actually going to pull Rumble out of Brazil because of this behavior, because they're, we little too much free speech over here on Rumble too, right?
Wow, I did not know that. I'm glad you're discussing that, because this is just getting over the top. It's gonna go everywhere, and every government is gonna do it right now. I think someone was Bob Murphy was making the joke that Elon is getting along really well with Milei, so that he has a safe place to escape. Yes, that's what we need.
Like, I'm seeing expats. I'm seeing it like vlogs of American expats who are fleeing to Argentina because they recognize what's happening down there. What's fascinating to me too is all of the smoke screens that are thrown up by people who despise Milei. The leftist communists, I think, didn't quite understand what Milei was. Now they've really nailed him down, and they're attacking him in every possible way. I saw that the president of Venezuela, Maduro, was calling Milei like a gay something. I don't know what it was, but he was he called Javier Milei a gay something. I don't know what it was. It's like a gay fascist or something like that. I think it was like he called him a gay fascist. Yeah, no, I'm not kidding. I'm like, oh well, somebody over on Maduro's social media team has been hopping on to all the latest slangs and insults and memes. But
no, he's the one that does those kind of insults. He's that low
Maduro.
Low class. Like yeah, it's just crazy. It's just insane.
Well, he's a gay communist, so guess what?
I'm not sure. But you see, the problem that we have here is that there's a lot of informality, but man, they take over political systems, guys, and they put in their people in specific places where they can actually use power. We don't live in a libertarian society yet, so we have to respond accordingly to where we're living right now so that we can make it over there.
Well, we have to take the power back and then return it to the people, right? The only problem is that it's kind of like Lord of the Rings, where once somebody touches the ring of power, they become corrupted by it, and then they won't destroy the ring because they have it and they don't want to get rid of it, right? What we need is a savior, right? Not a Gandalf, but a Frodo Baggins, who will actually take the ring to Mount Doom and Mordor and destroy it. Not to get too nerdy or anything on you here, but
I'm a nerd and I don't understand any of that, but I believe you.
Okay, so that's the Lord of the Rings history there. So Javier Milei has accomplished some incredible things, especially when it comes to inflation in his country. His country, it's like green shoots popping up all over economically for Argentina. People like Maduro don't want to see it. Other people around the world aren't seeing it. The thing that is most maddening about this, though, is that there are some people who are actively trying to suppress it to prevent the citizens of Argentina from experiencing the benefits of free markets and free trade. I saw that he dropped some of the import tariffs by some massive amount, and I don't quite I don't quite understand what the implications of that might be, but I suspect that I might be able to start selling afueras, the shoes that I made, in his country and not have to have them pay hefty import tax when the shoes arrive.
Now, you see, they're doing what I thought that we're going to do before. Usually when you're in this situation where you can't drop taxes because of how messy it is, the situation in Argentina, they have taxes is the only way, since monetary policy is a mess, the only way to get money out of circulation is through taxes. So there was no way at the beginning of Milei's administration to just get rid of import taxes. That's very important in order for resources to get into Argentina so they can produce even more. Now, finally, until now, that the inflation has been somewhat stable. It's been around 4% per month, which is really high for the United States standards, but for Argentine standards, it's a blessing. So it's kind of like the weird thing about living in Argentina, that sometimes things that are completely crazy for Americans, they're actually pretty normal or even good. So inflation has been tamed. Instead of getting to 25% inflation a year, worse, a month, they have brought it down a little bit below 4%. It looks like it's improving. Some people that are not even Milei fans have told, yeah, actually, you know what? They have said prices are way more stable than before. They finally stabilize. Why? Because they stabilized finally after a lot of months. They stabilized the money supply because they had tons and tons of kind of like fake debt inside of the central bank, and they needed to get rid of it before they started to do the following process. So they control inflation in pesos now, and the economy is the economy is finally recovering slowly, but it is. And some odd things is that, for example, certain industries take up first, and that's good. The ones that first take off first, for example, in Argentina, is pretty obvious. Anything that has to do with agriculture or cattle ranching is going to take off real quickly because of how highly they're super productive on
And
relative terms
Argentina
to
is
all
very
throughout the world.
Argentina has developed industries. Like their cattle industry is developed. Their wine industry is very developed. So there are some opportunities in Argentina where they're going to take off really quick. Other things are going to take a little bit longer to build up. Things like firearms manufacturers and local stores that sell those firearms and explosives for the good citizens of Argentina to be able to carry and walk about like daisies in the field, the sound of music, the hills are alive with the sound of firearms in Argentina, right?
There you go. So it's going to take time, but things are working. But things are working. Things are looking better when it comes to in the economic side, precisely because a lot of the bad debt that was in the central bank has already been taken care of. Some things that you guys might find interesting, just to give you guys an update on Argentina. I don't know if you guys discussed it already, but there was this big problem about a week or 2 weeks ago where they discovered that the past president, Alberto Fernandez, who literally created the Minister for Women in his own government to try to protect them, so on and so forth, it actually happened, and he was discovered that he used to abuse his wife very badly. And there was this huge problem where everyone that used to be behind him, they couldn't actually, because of political commitments, they couldn't actually condemn his behavior. It was incredibly bad. And so usually the general rule right now is if you see a guy that been super exaggerated about women's rights instead of just being respectful and that's it, that guy's trying to hide something. And that's exactly what happened in this case. It was very, very bad, but we were actually able to see how politics works behind closed doors, how there was a lot of commitment saying, we have to keep it quiet because he's the president and he's getting us, the resources. So all these things are coming out. They're evidence that the opposition that was destroying Argentina is falling apart. All of the resources from the state have actually dried out. They don't have any resources. They don't have any commitment among themselves anymore. So now they're actually collapsing, and now everyone can see what's behind doors. I hope you guys found this story.
I'm laughing at this headline from 4 hours ago in Argentina. It says that in Argentina, state job cuts push LGBTQ plus people back into sex work. So what they're saying is that, and they're complaining, that by cutting government employees, the homosexual community, the gay and queer and lesbian community, have to go back to making money as prostitutes, since they can no longer prostitute themselves to government. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. It's a real headline.
No, I know. This is how bad it is. I think we discussed last time. They actually got a transsexual person that used to work in the streets, if I'm correct. They put her in a bureaucratic job just to fill in a quota. Those are the kind of jobs they're saying, bye-bye, there's no quotas here. It has nothing to do with your sexual preferences or anything like that. We just don't have this gigantic budget for every random job that you guys can imagine in government. And what is actually happening shouldn't be hard for anyone to see. If there's no more bureaucratic jobs in the government, people have to go to the private sector to produce more. And if you produce more with a money supply that is stable, guess what's going to end up happening to inflation? It's finally going to be tamed. That's really what's happening behind it all. That the bureaucrats cannot be in the consumption side. Now they have to be in the production side, and that's how Argentina is gonna pull it off.
Yeah, this is great stuff, Aaron. We always love when you make contributions. On the 2-year anniversary of the Wake Up America show, I've been doing this podcast now for 2 years, Aaron, and certainly one of the biggest, most exciting stories that we've covered that has been part of our success has been covering the story of Argentina's Javier Milei. Just from our own sort of personal angle on this one, Aaron, I mean, I couldn't have seen coming what happened with Javier Milei in Argentina. Nobody could have predicted it. It was a miraculous upset. But it is, not only is it impacting, I mean, Javier Milei actually was bragging to the press yesterday, and he said, I'm the most relevant politician in the world, bar Trump. He might be right. I mean, that's a big claim, but he might be right because he has impacted politics here in the United States in a large way as well, has he not?
And even in Europe, isn't it like the last European elections, the right took over a lot of spaces, And one of the, at least in Italy, I know that for sure, because in Italy they love Milei. Italians look at Argentinians as like baby brothers, kind of. They like each other a lot. So Milei had a huge impact in Italy, and it looks like pretty much all throughout the European Union, and that's what it is. And now this is where it gets very complicated, because it does mean that Milei has to stop himself from worrying too much about what happens outside of Argentina, because he's being drawn just because people look up to him so much, and he has to give priority to Argentina. One of the reasons why he couldn't come a couple of times to the United States, even though it was already planned. That's a very interesting development, because we have a leader of the world that has to come down a little bit and has to focus a little bit more his attention and time, mainly the time. That's really what is happening. But things are changing, because we're looking real life what happens when all of these free market ideas are being implemented. Even if they go slow, they're just much better than what than the next available option that they had. And that's what voters, even the ones that are not libertarians or don't care about that, say, yeah, this is the best available option. We're gonna have to try it. And things are working out. What is the downside that we have with social media? Everybody wants results the next day so that they can have something to talk about. That's not gonna happen. Just be realistic. There was so much monetary disorder in Argentina in the last 20 years or more, that to try to fix that, it truly is a mess. Nobody knows where things were going to go, and now since there's more certainty, you can actually see the results, and yeah, the economy is recovering.
Last question before we let you go here, Aaron. This, I guess, is it this year, or is it, I guess, next year that the elections? Javier Milei is up for re-election next year, correct?
Yes.
And
okay,
so,
yes.
and his parliament, and the question of whether or not he will be able to advance his agenda fully lies in his ability to take his Libertad Avanza party and to add members to his coalition for next year.
That's the trick. It's not presidential election, but the next election is a congressional election.
Right.
And that's huge, because his party and everybody in his coalition, they need to go out and vote and get a bunch of people in there going to vote with in the side of Milei. That 54%, 57, I even forgot the percentage, 57, I think, 56, 57% of voters, they have to go out again and vote for all the Congress people that are going to side with Milei, so that he can take all of his reforms much, much easier. Because even if you can pass certain laws, if you don't have enough support, means that you have to make some concessions to the other side. And those concessions, no matter what, are going to postpone a lot of other changes. So the more people Milei has in Congress, the easier it's going to be, and the less concessions less concessions to the other side. That means that the recovery is going to be way faster than otherwise. So go out and vote next year.
Fighting for free speech, fighting for free markets. Aaron Sepulveda, the economist from Texas, joining us live here on the Wake Up America show. He's become a valuable resource for knowledge on South America, and specifically Javier Milei of Argentina. Aaron, is there anything else that we missed that you think that you'd like to mention, or anything you'd like to plug before we let you go today?
Okay, the thing that I would actually like to tell Argentines in general. The great thing about the situation right now with you guys is that in order to change the world, you just have to worry about your country. Just the way you're supposed to do in Argentina. We're all watching. And your behavior and your successes are going to inspire everyone else. So all you guys have to do is to take care of Argentina, and the rest will take care of itself. Thank you for your work, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Aaron Sepulveda. On the 2-year anniversary, we're glad that you got to join us for this very special episode. Have a wonderful day, Aaron. We'll talk to you again soon.
Blessings.
One more time, another round of applause for Aaron. You can follow him over on X.com as well. His X account, it's a little harder to find. Let me just read it out to you. Aaron Sepulveda is AARON SEPULVEDA, and then C, as Aaron Sepulveda Hue is his full last name. So look for a C on the end of Aaron Sepulveda, and you guys should be able to find him over on X.com. Nice to see Brandon Meyer, Mighty Megatron, Luke Sacker, Mongoose. Look, it's Liz Fanning. How are you doing there? How about Heartland Okie? Good to see you as well in the chat. Quest Fanning hanging out with Joni Rankin and Dad Bod Baboon. It's all of our friends here with 250 people or so watching us live at rumble.com. And we've also got about 640 people watching us over on X this morning as we talk about how Brazil has banned X and how Elon Musk is fighting the battle of free speech in order to protect free speech for people all over the world. And there is also the Starlink question in all of this one, because I've been following the story of Elon Musk's X being banned, but there are, to what I understand, hundreds of thousands of people who use Starlink as well. And I'm sure that Elon Musk is not going to voluntarily submit to a ban of his platform X on Starlink. So what happens to all of those Brazilians who are using Musk's Starlink? Wouldn't they, in theory, have a backdoor to be able to get in to X.com if they could directly connect to? I mean, if you think about it, if somebody in Brazil gets access to Elon Musk's Starlink satellite, they're not connected to any other network other than Elon Musk's satellite. So in theory, people who have Starlink could, from the satellite dish at their home, connect up to Elon Musk's satellite, connect from Elon Musk's satellite dish to Elon Musk's satellite to Elon Musk's social media site. I mean, Elon, you got a lot going on, Elon. If you're listening, and I know Elon Musk loves to listen to the Wake Up America show, of course, right? Yeah. Maybe one day. Maybe on the fourth year anniversary. If you are enjoying the show today, then please do what Luke Sacker in the Rumble chat is saying and click that like button, would you please? We'd love to have you become a regular guest on the show, and you can do that by joining us Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. It's a 2-hour live show. It's a great way to start your morning. We love to hang out and drink coffee and talk about the news of the day. It's like opening up the morning paper without having to read anything. Reading is like... I do the reading for you, and you come and listen to the show, and you get to sit back and do what Courtney Conover is doing, play video games at the same time that you're listening to the show, or maybe you're making yourself breakfast, or maybe you're just getting a new piercing, and you're hanging out at the tattoo shop and listening to us on your on the headset. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever lifestyle you lead, it's the Wake Up America show, and we hope that we can serve your needs. We're here to service you. And so we'd love to have you come back and join us on the regular schedule. There's a phone number at the bottom of the screen. People who are watching the show will know. People who listen to the audio version later will say, what's the number? It's 573-319-1586. The text lines are always open, and I'm always listening. I may not always respond, but I try. 573-319-1586. That's, again, 573-319-1586. 1586. One listener did text in this morning talking about the 2-year anniversary of the Wake Up America show. They said that they've followed me since I appeared on Timcast. Remember, the founding fathers started in taverns. That's right. Sidewalk Clothes sent me a tip on AOC, which I should have checked before this, but we can just react in real time. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez calling someone a predator. It's the predator. Look out. Get to the chopper. Here's AOC talking about it. Sidewalk. I'm going to react to it in just a sec. But one listener did text in this morning saying that there's some spam that is happening on Rumble, which is somebody pretending to be me and asking for a phone call, but I don't do that in public with text messages like that. I do it to private messages where I ask to call you and become a monthly subscriber. Evil laugh. So if you see somebody in the comments underneath the Rumble chat asking for your phone number or something like that, that's not me. If I ask for your phone number, I do it privately and not in public DMs. Be careful of spoof accounts here on Rumble. Some spammers and scammers are out there trying to get you to call this number or whatever, and that's not me. Okay, so that's not how I would contact you. So please just be careful about that kind of stuff. Make sure you're actually speaking to me over the phone, even though people can artificially inflate my voice. Right? You don't have to be super paranoid, but I think a little healthy paranoia is a good idea. We're going to speak to Camellia Peterson here in just a couple minutes. CJ's waiting for us over on Zoom. I see her actually reading the rundown right now. And at 8:30 a.m. Central Time, Tim Young will join us at Tim Runs His Mouth to talk about corporate media. We're going to speak with Camelia about a couple of stories. One, Gen Z taking over the workforce. And then number two, embarrassing Disney parents. Yes, one mom decided to go to Disney World and she didn't even take her kids. I kid you not. We're going to talk about that, the psychosis of the Disney parents, when we get back with someone who's definitely not a Disney parent. But I was a Disney kid. When we get back on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network.
The Cantina crew, this is Elon Musk, the CEO of Twitter. And I just want to say thank you for watching the Wake Up America show. I've decided that Austin Peterson will be the new CEO of Twitter.com, effective immediately. First thing to do, though, is I've got to go and blast off into space.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Good mid-Missouri morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. I'm proud to be here now for 2 years. It's the 2-year anniversary of our show. Starting in a bar where random people would sometimes be laying next to pools of their own vomit, to now a beautiful studio, courtesy very much of Scott Vaughn. Thank you, Scott, for being so generous and helping us to get here now 2 years after we started this show professionally podcasting. It's in some ways been a little bit of a miracle. In other ways, it's been, well, a lot of duct tape, a lot of wires, and a lot of scary, will I make my mortgage payment the next month? But we made it because, of course, people like yourself and people like my next guest, Camelia Peterson, who has been a stalwart and a regular guest on the show since we started, hey, Camellia, thanks for being here, and thanks for everything that you've done to help us be here 2 years later.
Happy anniversary and 1776 Club, baby. You guys go to Wake Up America Show /support. You too can be a supporter.
That's right. That's right. And everybody who supports us like you, Camellia, who donates $17.76 a month through our website, gets on the Peterson Family Christmas card list, which we always kind of took pride there for a few years and just being like letting people wonder what's it going to be this year, right? And then this year, of course, I think everybody know what it's going to be. It's going to be the baby, right? Obviously, duh, it can't not be the baby. But thank you for all of your support, Camellia, and helping us to get here. And of course, your contributions twice a week are wonderful, and everybody looks forward to them and talks about them afterwards, including friends of ours who watch it pretty religiously.
I was just thinking that, when you were doing I was just thinking back to a show that when we were in the bar area where there was a guy on the couch who was literally there like halfway through he woke up halfway through the show, and I was thinking one of these times he's going to like wake up, because we're talking loud and everything, and there's all these bright lights, but he was pretty sad. He got up and left.
Even in like my heavier drinking days, if I was like sleeping it off, if I was if like people started doing a freaking talk show next to me with lights and cameras and all that crap, I would wake up. But I mean, that guy did not wake up. But thankfully we've migrated into the studio, and of course we do owe Scott a big thank you. He does a lot for us to help us freedom fighters here in Missouri to spread our message. So thank you to Scott. The only reason, not the only reason, but one of the big reasons why the Wake Up America show has been able to make it 2 years is because I think nobody would criticize me if I said that I have a strong work ethic. Right? I get my ass up early every single day. I'm a geriatric millennial, so I'm the oldest type of millennial that there is, right? Born in 1981. And my father on the farm taught me work ethic. My first job, get out in the fields, and there are trees and they have vines on them. Take gloves and use the gloves to jerk off the tree and make the vines rip off of the tree. It was not always pleasant or fun, and it hurt your hands, but you did it. And that was your first pay for, I don't know, $4 an hour or something like that at the time. Gen Z is now starting to take over in the workplace and many of the offices that people are working with. And it's become a problem for bosses because they say that Gen Z just doesn't even know what a work ethic is, let alone have a work ethic. What's your take?
Yeah, this was a really interesting article. It was a good read. And I sort of have two different takes on it in some ways. But I do think that it is true that so many, not all of them, obviously, but so many in Gen Z come into the workplace. And one of the things they pointed out was that, well, maybe they don't know what is socially appropriate or expected because a lot of them started during COVID when it was remote and there weren't, the same expectations. But I don't know, I'm looking at this, and if you are coming into a workplace and you don't know what proper social cues are and how to respond to those, and how to conduct yourself in a workplace, I think to a large extent that also goes back to your home life and to your education. And one of the first things that jumped out to me here was we have yet another generation of public schooled kids. And do you know who employers are looking for probably the most right now? It's the homeschooled kids, because they know they have a good work ethic for the most part. And they are actually pretty darn socialized. And so I think that, it's interesting because on the other hand, they come in not knowing really what's appropriate conduct in a workplace. And if you're on a Zoom meeting, don't be making snarky comments while somebody's talking, right? But that's that kind of online culture where there's not those boundaries have not been set up as norms in a lot of ways. But I also think on the other hand, this article was talking about how that all of these big employers came together, their boards came together and said, what are some ways that we can approach this? And because, Gen Z is also, I think in a good way, they're pushing back against this idea that, you have to work 60, 80 hours a week to get ahead. And they also, they're wanting to know, they don't want to be just another cog in the machine, right? I think that, as we have advanced as a society, we have reached the point where it's more of an expectation that people come in wanting to know the why behind what they're doing. They want to feel like they're contributing something of value. I think that's a great thing, right? So companies like Canva are starting to do more frequent meetings with employees and talking about, their vision for the company and how people's roles within that company contribute to that vision. And I think that's more motivating for people now, I think. And I think it's probably always something that's been motivating, but I think it's becoming more normal now than it was before. And so I think too that's a good thing. But on the other hand, we have these kids coming in that are also expecting things like on-site therapy.
That's what I was going to be my next point here is that when it comes to benefits, I wouldn't even think about that. Like, if I'm going to a new job, I'm thinking benefits like 401k matching and healthcare plans. But apparently Gen Z, one of their top interests when it comes to employee benefits is they're hoping that they're going to be able to get free therapy, which is, on one hand, you could say, okay, they're good that they're concerned about their mental health. On the second, like, how bad is the mental health out there? I mean, how bad could it be?
Well, I think this kind of goes back to our system right now and the education system and lots of other things in society. But this emphasis, this almost obsession with mental health. And it's not that it's not an issue at all, but why is it such an issue? I mean, maybe we've created this self-fulfilling prophecy of, constantly insisting that people have mental health problems when actually what they probably have are problems with, having an external locus of control, right? I mean, because they come in and the managers are talking about how that, they are needing to constantly provide feedback to these employees. And I'm immediately thinking of our social media age and the need for constant validation. And that's what it sounds like in the workplace that's a problem. Like, if you are someone who needs constant validation in your job, I mean, feedback is great. We should do feedback, and probably historically employers have not done feedback enough. I like the idea of doing feedback more than once a year, right? But for it to be a constant trickle that you need this to continue working in, and keeping a good work ethic up, like, there's something wrong with that. I was telling you that I was reading over the weekend. I sat down and read in one sitting a book that our next governor, Mike Kehoe, wrote, and it's called Someone on My Side, A Life of Hope, Help, and Hard Work. And he has a really moving story about how he came up in, North City, St. Louis, and he, with a single mom, a dad that walked out on them, lots of siblings. And so this was one of the things that he had to learn in the hard way sometimes, was that you had to go to work. And he talked about the things now and his successes as he has built businesses coming out of that. And literally, when you go through all of the opportunities that he had, it's been because, as he says, you do your best, but then you do a little more. You go the extra mile and you do the hard work, and then the doors have opened as a result of that. But he built businesses. And one of the things he says to young people right now, I think is really important, he was like, is that you need to have a thick skin and you need to be able to take constructive feedback. And, everybody is too easily offended today. And I think that's really the crux of a lot of what we're seeing now with Gen Z, is that everybody's so worried and about being easily offended that, well, look, we need on-site mental health therapists because we're too busy being offended all of the time because we can't take constructive criticism.
Yeah, no, those are good points. And kudos to you for sitting down and reading Mike Kehoe, Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe, soon to be Missouri's next Republican governor, his book. Well done there. And I guess we could use you as a resource for what's going on in his mind then from now on. So congratulations on that. Camelia, on one of the things about Generation Z that's listed in this Wall Street Journal piece about them taking over the workplace is, I think, a positive thing for them is that they're willing to actually ask for things that they want. And it does help shape the workplace in a beneficial way for even older workers. For example, Hilton executive Laura Fuentes said Gen Z and millennials might not be so far apart from their older counterparts, but at times they're simply more vocal about what they want. younger hotel employees expressed an interest in being paid after each hourly shift. Hilton made that an option, and now older workers use the benefit too. So there is something about sort of sticking up for yourself, and asking for some changes that, if it's not too much out of your employer's way, they might do for you.
Sure, that was a really interesting request, right? It probably speaks a lot to where we are in our economy.
I need cash now.
Right. So I was a little conflicted about that one. Like, my first thought was like, maybe they need to learn to manage their money better, but also, there are a lot of older people who are in that boat too. And whether it's the economy or lack of financial planning, kind of goes back to a drum I've been beating lately, that we need classes on economics in like starting in grade school now.
Well, if they can't budget for 2 weeks, then there's danger, Will Robinson. But some people are in desperate situations before they start a new job.
Sure.
And I remember how expensive the move was to Jefferson City from Kansas City, where I was. And I think for like the first couple of weeks, it took like a month or something for me to get my first paycheck. For whatever reason, I was like out of the pay cycle, or like 3 weeks. And for like a couple of weeks, I'm like, I'm fully employed but my insurance benefits, of course, hadn't kicked in. Yes. It took like 6 months there too. So I'm like, I'm fully employed and fully broke.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, if you've stayed at any hotels at all lately, you will know that they are clearly having trouble getting staff. And so I'm sure that it is challenging, and there are ways that they can make it better for the workers, to incentivize them to stay on long-term, provide better service. When you're talking about a service industry like that, keeping your help happy is pretty important.
Yep, for sure. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm speaking to Camelia Peterson. It's the 2-year anniversary of the Wake Up America show. Can we get a like on the stream for that? If it's your first time watching us and you're enjoying this content, we'd love to have you be a regular guest. So click the follow button as well, and come back and join us Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. It's the Wake Up America show. We're talking about work ethic of Generation Z. Dad just texted me, my dad, Farmer Pete, said, don't forget about selling those mums. Oh, Dad, do we have to go sell mums today? We would complain. And yes, we did. But I guess, yes, before I had to shuck the vines off of the trees at Shadowlawn Farm, when I was a wee little boy, we went out into the fields with Dad, and they planted the chrysanthemums in the field. I think we did this 2 years in a row. And we planted the chrysanthemums in the field. And then when they were big, we took them into town and on the back of a tractor trailer, and sold them to people in town, and made a little bit of money off of it. So that was, lessons in entrepreneurship as a child definitely served me well, and have helped me to have this entrepreneurial spirit that's brought about the creation of this show.
I think that's one of the most important things that we can do for kids, coming up. And this is where, if you're a parent, I just wonder if enough kids have entrepreneurial opportunities, right? I mean, it gives them a chance to try things, to experiment, to fail, right? And learn to pick up and get going again. And my parents did that for me. And there were lots of jobs that I had when I was a kid. And it's something that, I've done for my girls, and my parents do for my girls as well. So I think, when you talk about extended family, that's something that grandparents can do, for kids too, is to give them work and jobs, and actually have requirements like don't just let them, do a little something and then pay them. But I think that anytime we can encourage entrepreneurship in kids, both at home and in their school settings, will only help us in the future.
The thing that I got lucky is that my dad was an entrepreneur and a business owner, and my mother was too. And so there really is something uniquely useful about skills in really everything is sales, right? Everything is, to some extent, almost everything is the service industry anymore. Yeah. So my dad does landscaping for commercial clients, but it's a service that he's providing to those clients. He works in the service industry like anyone else. who's serving others, you have to make sales. In order to make sales, you have to have a sales strategy, and you have to have marketing, and you have to have all of these aspects where it's very different from someone who just shows up to a job, does the job. And if you're a kid, you don't see your parent, what they do while they're in the workplace, right? My dad did have a job at Western Electric when I was very young. And the exciting part about that for me was that when he would come home, sometimes he'd bring me a Snickers bar from the vending machine. And it was like the biggest exciting thing of my day. But when I saw mom and him scrimping and saving and slaving away in the fields and driving bobcats and tractors and tilling up the land, and my mom running books, and I remember being a little kid in the office watching my parents build a business. That experience is extraordinary, and it does give you, I guess it helps to give you the courage to say, if they can do it, I can too,
Sure. And your mom probably wasn't running off to Disney World and taking her own vacations and right?
No, there were, the concept of a Disney, thank you, great segue. The concept of a Disney adult did not exist at this point, right? Everybody who loved Disney typically were kids, or if they were adults who loved Disney, it was because they loved the old classics, but they didn't sit around watching the box sets unless they were there with their kids. However, one mother has made headlines by deciding to take a vacation by herself at Walt Disney World. I don't know if she's a Zoomer, maybe she's a very young millennial, but this seems like childish behavior on behalf of this. What's this story?
So it says says she's 30. And I don't know how many kiddos she has or their ages, but I'm assuming they're, fairly young. But anyway, so yes, apparently she decided to take a vacation to Disneyland World, whichever one it was, by herself without her kids. And she posted about it, and it created a bit of a firestorm online. And it looked like the results as far as people commenting on it were pretty mixed. I mean, some people were cheering her on and understanding why she did it. And other people are like, why would you go to Disney World and not take your kids? Like, why would you go by yourself?
I could understand if you didn't have kids, right? You could go to Disney World. Stephanie and I, we went there for our honeymoon, and it was fun, and we had a great time. There's no way we would go and do it again now without our kid, right? So it just strikes me as this, I don't know. You know what it is? What I think it is to a large extent, Camellia, and this is something I was accused of for quite some time, Peter Pan syndrome. Right. The problem of people, I don't want to grow up. I don't never want to grow up. Right. That I just feel like the nostalgia factor is very strong for people. And there's in the United States now, maybe people feel like our best days aren't ahead of us. They're really just looking back at their childhoods at a better time when America was a different place.
I think it's like everything else. There has to be a balance to it. And that's where I think the way a lot of people reacted to this, and the way a lot of people react to Disney adults, right? That there's that lack of balance. If it's a major part of your life, that's something that's seen as something that's more, children's, realm of things. But there's nothing wrong with enjoying those things. Right. It just is. It probably should not be the predominant way you entertain yourself anymore. And I don't know. I think that, this idea too, that when you are a parent, that I'm a little bit conflicted about this, right? Is the idea that when you're a parent, your life revolves solely around your children. And I do agree with that to a certain extent, but I also think that it is healthy for children to sometimes have some distance from their parents as well, to understand that they can leave and they will come back, because it can create some insecurity, when that does happen, if they're never exposed to that at all. But I do, I don't know. If as an adult you feel the need to go to Disney World just so that you can ride the big rides and enjoy alcoholic drinks without your kids there, something is maybe a little out of whack. I don't know. I could understand maybe if she was going with friends, like if it was a friend group going, but it didn't appear that way. It was
no, she's going by herself, right?
Right.
And it's like, I don't know. It strikes me as a little bit selfish, maybe a bit narcissistic. It's all about me and me. But I guess it's like, maybe is it acceptable to go do a spa day by yourself, get a mani-pedi? How can we criticize other people's form of entertainment, right? She goes, if she went and did something else that was silly or childish that we find acceptable, there's just something about Disney adults that annoy people, damn it. Because they're a culture.
It is a whole culture to
It is a whole culture, yeah.
Maybe a little culty.
It is, right? Very yes, and it's just obnoxious sometimes. Camellia Peterson, anything else people need to know before I let you go?
Nope. Happy anniversary again, and thanks everybody for watching and going on this journey with you and us, and it's been fun, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it, and have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, CJ. You rock. Thanks for being a big supporter and for coming on the show every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m. Central Time here on the Wake Up America show. We'll see you later. Thanks, everybody. We'll give CJ a round of applause. Say goodbye to CJ. Camellia. And we will go get my friend Tim Young. He was offered a big-time corporate contract to have his own show in corporate media. He said, hell no. Wow. It takes balls to do something like that, especially because I bet it was a lot of money. We'll talk to Tim Runs His Mouth when we get back on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
It was 1946. A battle was fought, not overseas, but right here on American soil. The Battle of Athens, an intense struggle against election fraud and for the rights promised by our founding fathers. Driven by the Second Amendment, ordinary citizens stood tall and fought back. Help us expose this momentous battle of integrity and bravery. Your support can make a difference. Visit givesendgo.com/bleedamerican and pledge your support, because we believe in the power of truth, the strength of unity, and the spirit of we the people. Let us not forget, we bleed American.
Fire.
Hello, this is Barack Obama, and let me tell you why Austin Peterson stinks, and you should never pay attention to anything that he has to say. First of all, he's a libertarian, and we all know libertarians are idiots. They don't realize how important government is to everything that we do. I recently became aware that Austin has opened up a libertarian shop at apeforlibertyshop.com. Now, I'm asking you as a personal favor to me that you never ever visit apeforlibertyshop.com. With all of the great Liberty merchandise there, the last thing that we need to do is to get people spreading this message around the country, because then they might start thinking that they don't need government. And that's the last thing that good Democrats like us want. So if you love democracy, like me, and hate freedom, then don't visit AP for Liberty Shop. Like I said, whatever you do, do not visit aporlibertyshop.com. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move.
so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.
Good Missouri morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Today is our 2-year anniversary. So I got something really special for you. My next guest, Tim Young. You know him as Tim Runs His Mouth. He's a comedian and a social media personality as well. He's joining us live this morning on our 2-year anniversary to talk about corporate media and a post that he made about a big show offer that he got but turned down. And as somebody who's been in corporate media myself, I know a thing or two about the business. I'm curious to hear more from Tim, who's joining us live right now. Good morning, Tim. Welcome to the Wake Up America show.
What's going on, man? Congratulations on 2 years.
Hey, thanks so much, brother. It's great to have you here. And I've been looking forward to a conversation between the two of us, and I'm glad we could have it here on the Wake Up America show. I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more about this story because as someone who has worked in corporate media and in the alternative media, I know how they love to take people like us who bring all the talent, all of the skills, everything to the table and squish us down and destroy our souls and take everything that's great about us and throw it out the window and then turn us into little advertisement reading machines. So when I read your post over on X.com, I won't read the whole thing, but you said you were offered the biggest BS contract you've ever been given by corporate media, and you told them to, well, guess what? Bad words incoming. Fuck off. Which I got to say, good for you. maybe it was a bad decision. I don't know, Tim. Why did you do this? Why did you say no to this contract? What can you tell us about it? And give us your thoughts on corporate media.
Well, I have no NDA with them, so I can tell you anything you want to know about this contract. It's a wonderful hunk of garbage that they gave me. I'm going to try not to swear since you gave the warning on the F word. But look, it was a deal that was a rev share, no money up front whatsoever. And I could go get my own sponsors to be on this new whatever network that a traditional conservative outlet was starting. And it's actually up now. It's all over the place. But they could shoot down my ads. They could refuse to run my show. There was no production offered. There was no editor offered. There was literally nothing offered whatsoever. They wanted me to do all of the work with no help from their side other than they might post it. Even though I was guaranteed a time slot, I was supposed to be their late night host. I buried the lead on that one. I was supposed to be the late night host for this. They wanted me to compete with Gutfeld. What else was there in this? No help from them. They could shoot down everything that I wanted. They had a 50-50 rev share on 2 of their ads that they were going to run for me, but all of their expenses came out before it was a 50-50 rev share. So really it was a 90-10 in their favor. In the end, there was an indemnity clause, and for those of you out there who aren't a legal scholar, indemnity means that I can't sue them for anything. So by the time there was no pay schedule in it either, by the way. So by the time I went to go get my money that I wasn't going to get from them, I could not sue them if I signed onto this deal. And if a lunatic sued them because they didn't like what I had to say, they would not defend me at all in court. So, that's $50,000.
Yeah, but they might post your show every once in a while, though, Tim. They might post it.
I mean, they sell this to me like I'm going to be their late night host. Like I said, they said they wanted me to compete against Gutfeld. They wanted me to be, an anchor to their network. And they literally in the contract said they would not run the show at any point. They could not run the show at any point that they chose that they didn't want to, and not give me any warning. So even if I were to go get sponsors, and you know how this works, you get people to pay for ads on your show, the show may not even air. I mean, this contract, I've seen a lot of contracts. I've worked for local Fox. I've worked for different radios. I have a deal with Sirius XM right now. This deal was so rotten, and it just kind of like exemplifies why the conservative media is in the shitter.
We're not taking care of each other. I mean, listen, Tim, I mean, I cut my teeth over a decade, working in libertarian politics, where they fight even more viciously over far less than what conservative media fights for. But still, at the end of the day, we are not a cohesive movement in large part because we don't behave in the type of way that protects each other, the same way that the left locks arm and shields and gives their hosts, lucrative contracts. They don't even have anywhere near the views that many of the conservative top podcasts have on MSNBC or what have you, but they don't care because their benefactors step in and they are generous with their talents, and they give them good contracts, and they treat them like human beings, and they set them up as avatars for their ideas so that they can be effective advocates for their ideas. It seems as if many of the people on our side who are the so-called capitalists are just constantly kicking guys like you and other talent in the nuts. And you never get an opportunity to really reach your full potential, because I mean, if I may, pat you on the back a little bit, I think you're a tremendous talent. Your stuff is always funny. It's always sharp. It's always fresh. So I'm saying to myself, I'm surprised that you hadn't had a big mainstream media contract yet, but to think that they would give you this kind of an offer or this kind of deal just goes to show it's really for them. It is Con Inc., right? It is about the dollar signs. They don't really believe in, like, the principles are really just ornaments and wall hangers to sort of get people to come in and say, well, this is what we really believe. But at the end of the day, what they really want to do is take guys like you or guys like me and bend us over and give us the business. And maybe if they can eke a few dollars out of it.
Well, it's amazing. And when you take a look at the numbers and you see that conservative media is down across the board 70 or 80% of the viewership that they had 4 years ago, you would think they'd want to try something new. You'd think they'd want someone fresh. Like, your show is so different. You're such a different character. I'm a different character. You would think both of us would have massive deals with a company trying to at least like take a swing for the fences, right? But that's not how it works. There are these guys that are happy to churn and burn on their gold ads and their catheter ads. Your freeze-dried corn. I think the bags of pills is the new one too. Sorry if that's any of your sponsors. But these are all it's the same thing, and they're just driving. It's almost like you're trying to squeeze blood from a turnip, or try to collect a couple of extra pieces of china before the Titanic sinks so they can throw it on their boat. It's really bad, the treatment of not only talent in this industry, but the disparity between talent and not to sound like I'm going to start to sound like Kamala Harris here. The disparity between the talent and the executives, the corporate executives, is ridiculous when we're the people who make them their money.
No kidding, Tim. And, not everybody can do kind of what I do, which is to produce a 2-hour live video podcast 5 days a week and get guests to come in like yourself and to make something like this happen. It's very technically challenging. A lot of people can, if they're super talented, they can just get a crappy mic and a camera. And maybe if they're a beautiful woman, that really helps too, of course. And some of them can become superstars in media and they don't really need to have an infrastructure to really do a show. But there is a challenge in the sense that if you really want to make high dollar quality entertainment, it takes a lot of money, right? And it's me, my redheaded libertarian wife, and my new baby month old, and then the people that are behind me that are supporting me through monthly subscriptions, Rumble Rant donations, and things like that. And if you're smart and savvy and you work your ass off and you only get up at 4:30 in the morning, you can make something like this work. But I don't know if that just needs to be the full model going forward. I don't know if there is a future for corporate media. Maybe there isn't, right? But I'm curious for you to kind of project, to talk about where we're at from a perspective of, podcasting versus mainstream media. Does mainstream media, go away entirely? I mean, or does Fox maintain a stranglehold? Where do you see us going maybe next 5, 10, 15 years?
Well, I'll tell you, I know one of the former heads of Fox, and we talk about this a lot. And he believes, as I do, that you're going to see CNN and Fox probably break up at some point here, or at least get sold. The business model doesn't work anymore, and they know that. That's why all the numbers are down across the board. You can go follow, Austin Peterson on his own show on Rumble. You can go follow me on Twitter, where I'm going to start putting my stuff. You can go follow these individual characters, and I think smart people like us, we've kind of been forced into this position, but at some point you go, hey, I'm not going to work for you. Why would you, after putting all of your time and effort in, you got 2 years of success here, why would you ever go listen to a board of people and have a chain of command that you then have to answer to and will control your speech? Because that's ultimately what happens, and for not much benefit. So really, I think the entire corporate media structure is collapsing. They know it, and they're trying to sucker people in. The idea of traditional television, and I warn anybody, in traditional media, radio, anything you want, anything in those genres, it's appealing to people who are kind of in our age range and mid-30s and up. But I think anybody below knows that the media is shifting. So they will try to sucker in talent who still believe in them. But other than that, I think people have wised up.
Right. But Tim, when it comes to specifically the conservative media, for example, you talk about the numbers being down. Are you talking specifically about mainstream corporate right-wing media, or are you talking, does that include alternative media as well?
No, alternative media is up. But when you take a look at, there was a report that came out, and I should have come prepared. I'm unprepared. There was a document that came out, a liberal group actually put it out, that across the board, everything is down 70, 80%, all of the websites. So when you take a look at Daily Caller, the Breitbarts, your town halls, everything is down other than Newsmax of all places. And I think Newsmax took a bump when Fox News called Arizona early and has not let go of that little bit of a bump of audience that they had.
Well, that's actually kind of exciting to see, because I'll be honest, Tim, when I first started, again, this is the 2-year anniversary. This is kind of why I wanted to talk about it. When I started this venture 2 years ago, I was scared shitless that I had done something and put my family in danger financially. And if you fail publicly and fall flat on your face. And trust me, I ran for president and lost. And so I'm familiar with like the humiliation of defeat in public. But, you get up, you dust yourself off, you get up and in the morning and you try something new and you try and make it happen. And I've been able to make this work for 2 years, but it's constantly shifting. It's constantly changing. If yes, we can follow at Tim Runs His Mouth over on x.com. You're going to start your new show, which I'm excited to see. I'm sure it's going to be hilarious. You also have a wonderful wife who is, I know, your inspiration, and Alex Spencer that you brag about her. She's on her ex is on your as well. And I love seeing men like you lifting up your family, because people like yourself and myself, we're successful. We can do what we do because we have people like Alex and my wife, Stephanie, who are supporting us and helping to make these dreams happen, even though these schemes are rather cockamamie. But it is viable, right? I mean, if somebody's willing to work hard to get to where, say, like you're at, or where I'm at, for example, I mean, maybe you could just answer this question. What has it taken for you to get to where you're at right now, where you have a good amount of influence and can tell the corporate media to screw off and be supported with your wife and to start your own ventures streaming on X? How have you gotten to this point, Tim?
So it's my brand, right? I say no a lot, and it kind of became me. And I have a tattoo on my arm that I'm wearing long sleeves, kind of, but you can see my my no tattoo, and I have a nope tattoo right above it. When I travel with COVID, it's an open sign. But no became me. I started realizing, and thank God I went to law school. Very early on, I started getting these garbage contracts from conservative outlets, and I knew what I had, and I was a stand-up comic. I was performing around the country, and I had the background in law and public policy, and I advised many members of Congress. And when these media agencies started coming around, my response over and over again, number one, you're shocked when you see how crappy the offer is, but it's saying no over and over again. And that's what got me to where I am. And by the way, talk about lifting people up. Al, number one, is the big Al, I call her, Alex, is my business manager. And the reason that we met was because I was hosting for Sirius, and I saw that she had a social media business, and she didn't present as a skank online, which is something that conservative women tend to do. They put on their,
but they have a cross, but there's the Jesus cross above the cleavage.
You shove as many guns as you can in
In the
whatever crevice you
waistband.
can get away. Yeah, yeah. And she didn't have that. She was a class act that was trying to promote a business. And I try to promote people, good people, when I host on radio. And she was one of those people. And I brought her in, and the reason we started talking, it had nothing to do with her being hot. I mean, she happens to be hot, but she got run over by an ambulance. Sorry, by a car afterwards, and was getting loaded into an ambulance. You can tell it's early for me. She was getting loaded into an ambulance. I called her after the interview just to kind of follow up and give her a couple of tips. And she had just got flipped over a car. An old man ran her over, and she was put in the hospital. And I felt guilty, and so I was like kind of following up with her, just seeing where she was, and we just started talking. So
And then you're like, hey, baby, how's the hospital? How's the hospital food?
I sent her instead of like flowers or a traditional gift, I sent her a woke Barbie in a wheelchair with like a rainbow shirt.
Bro, you were trying to get in on that action. That is over and above and beyond. That is hilarious. We're speaking to Tim Young right now at Tim Runs His Mouth over on X about BS corporate contracts and about how Conservative Inc., Con Inc., really is a big con, and many of the big talents out there. The thing is like when you see some of the drama surrounding like Crowder or Candace Owens or Daily Wire, you think to yourself, God, well, if I can't work for the big guys, the big corporate institutions, wouldn't it be nice to go to work for some of the bigger conservative institutions that are in alternative media? Them is shark-infested waters as well. I mean, I almost think it's if you've really got the talent and the drive, you might be better off doing it yourself than even taking like a decent contract at some of these institutions, because it's very much still the stab you in the back political, climb to the top. And if you don't want to have to leave a trail of skulls and bodies in your wake to the top, if you'd like to get there honestly, you're probably better off going it on your own, right?
Yeah, and again, you don't have to answer to anyone when you go into these corporate positions, or even say the contract I just got. And by the way, it was with Salem. I'll just go ahead and say it was Salem Media. There were requirements on what I could and could not say on air. I couldn't advertise or talk about alcohol. Everyone who knows me, anybody who follows me, knows that I'm a bourbon enthusiast. I've actually been trained as basically a bourbon sommelier, and I have a podcast. One of my side projects is Let's Drink Bourbon with the founder of Angel's Envy, and so they're like, we can't talk about liquor at all. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You can't talk about liquor at all. I mean, there's just the weird structure, weird control, unnecessary control. And you get somebody like me or you into a situation like that, and they basically strip you of all of your character. I mean, could you imagine either one of us? By the way, this is like I'm dressed very nicely this morning for you, but could you imagine either one of us like suited up? Because that's the other thing they want is they want you suit and tie, because that's what they're just this traditional boring stuff is. And I think people don't want that anymore.
I can't tell you how many people, like when I first started my show, were telling me, Austin, this 1980s synthwave branding and these goofy shirts. No, you got to put on a suit and tie and you got to make it look like Fox News and all this crap. And I'm just like, bro, that is not the way to go, because everybody else is doing that, right? Nobody else is doing what I'm doing here on this show. And first of all, I'm also doing it at the butt crack of dawn. So it's like, what the hell? Why is he streaming this early? Because these are the people who get up early in the morning and who have jobs and have kids and are productive members of society, and therefore they're probably a much better audience for me, and that's my thinking for it. But most people, they kind of look at something from a surface level. Like I have a merchandise shop, for example, and people will always tell you, oh, you need to get this product in your store, and then they won't even buy it, right? So the person who is in the position that you're in or that I'm in is the person who's best able to call the shots on what's a good topic to talk about on the show, who's a good guest to talk about on the show. And frankly, if I want to talk about alcohol at 8:48 Central Time in Missouri, I'm going to talk about alcohol at that time in the morning, because I think it's relevant and I know my audience trusts me and wants to hear what I have to say. Now we're running towards the end of this segment, Tim, so I do want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about what you are going to do. I'm really excited to hear about your next project. So could you fill us in on what you plan to do instead of going to work for Behemoth?
Yeah, well, listen, it's going to be turning on this camera and grabbing a microphone and eventually getting a studio like you. I mean, we're in the house market right now. We're shopping for a house, and so we're going to build a studio. That's part of the next house purchase. I'm not going to put it in this rental that we have right now. But we are going to be developing my show out. I've been known for good interviews and giving good interviews when I'm on Sirius, and I have long form stuff that I want to do. It's just like talking to people, making fun of the news. talking about whatever I feel like that day, which could be anything from booze to, collectibles to politics. And it always kind of comes back to politics and capitalism. But, it's just having fun and turning on the camera and enjoying things with people who enjoy things. I mean, or hating things with people who hate things. That's the idea.
Okay.
Nothing spectacular, nothing too deep. And by the way, to speak about like how like I've got a pile of comic books next to me right now on the table, and talk about like how well I'm doing on my own is I bought my favorite Grail comic that I've always kind of wanted, my Batman 171 with the Riddler. People who are listening can't see it, but it's graded 7 out of 10. So, when you can go drop a couple grand on some comic books, you're not doing too bad. And I just couldn't imagine selling my soul and having to move to like a New York or something like that, wearing a suit all the time, getting plastic surgery like a Brett Baer or Jesse Waters, totally in and out. Yeah, I don't understand what happens to these people. Well, I mean, they were kind of built in that environment, but it's just like that's not us, man. And the thing is, like, I like your shirts. I don't know where the hell you get them, but it's pretty good, man. Like the whole be different. Like I grew up watching TV shows in Baltimore where like you'd have the positive like non-freaky people saying like be different, be yourself.
Yeah.
That's what we should be.
Yeah, but as soon as you do, the problem is, and this is the psychology here, the social psychology, is that people, they tell you to be different, but then as soon as you do it, somebody's there ready with a hammer to try and pound you back in, right? And those are those corporate overlord types. Those are the ones like on the playground who like bully you for wearing the silly shirt. Those are the ones who go to be the corporate executives to write those rules to try and screw people like you into, put you in their box and make you what they want you to be. I've done the New York thing. I've done the DC thing. I've worn the suits. I've got a dusty closet full of ties and suits that don't fit because I got a little belly now because I'm enjoying a little bit of alcohol in my mid-Missouri rural life while I podcast and live stream. So Tim, if people want to find out more about your project and follow you, is the best place on X at Tim Runs His Mouth?
Yeah, that's the best place to do it. I mean, I have freedom there, and I don't have to worry about what I say or don't say there. So X is absolutely the best place. And by the way, you got to watch that liquor, man. I just dropped 35 pounds because I had a great 2 years with Al, and drinking. I've got a 800 bottle bourbon collection, and it catches up to you real quick.
No, it certainly does. And I've cut back a lot. I used to just like have a beer or two almost every day. And then when you start to feel the bulge, right, you're fighting the battle of the bulge and it's coming out over the top of your jeans and you can't put on any of your belts anymore. You get to where like every pair of pants that you want to look at has to be stretchy pants. After you hit like 43, it's like everything's stretchy pants. But at Tim Runs His Mouth, Tim, I'm a great admirer of your work. I want to be just like you someday. If you ever want to team up on a project together, please reach out. It seems you got a great attitude in life. You've got a great wife, and wish you nothing but the best, man. Hope to talk again real soon.
Dude, we need to work on something together.
Let's do it, Tim. Have a great day, okay?
Yeah.
Let's give him a round of applause. That's Tim. Follow him over on X at Tim Runs His Mouth. The Wake Up America show is 2 years old. 2. Let's hope it's not a terrible 2. I think it's going to be an awesome 2. I think we're going to have, oh God, Austin. Fix the scene. It's a beautiful life. Oh, it's a beautiful life. Oh. We're building something very special here. The Wake Up America show is building a community. But more than that, I think we're building something like a family. And you, the listener, the viewer, who have been here since the beginning, many of you, are part of it. This show doesn't exist without an audience. I couldn't do it with nobody watching for long. As a matter of fact, today I'm kind of nervous. I got a phone call in a couple of hours with somebody who wants to help sponsor the Wake Up America show, and I hope that it works out, right? I mean, it's kind of a miracle when you get somebody reaching out to you like that. And do they do that because nobody watches the show? No, they do it because people like yourself are watching and clicking the like button and clicking the follow button. You're supporting the Wake Up America show. Drew Van Runkle donated $2 for 2 years. Thank you, Drew. So those sponsors, they reach out because they see that you're watching the show. They see that you are not just watching the show, but you're interacting, you're commenting, you're helping us to build a community. And the sponsor wants access and wants me to talk about their products to you because I'm the best conduit. And this is the new media. And this is how people get their message out. And corporate media is dying because of conversations like that. Look, it's Liz. Thank you very much. She dropped $20 in the tip jar. We appreciate that. Drew Van Runkle wants to buy an ad for his OnlyFans site. Oh, Drew. Of course. It's beautiful here in mid-Missouri where we stream live the Wake Up America show. We stream live every 5, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, 2 hours in the morning. It's a great way to start your day, to make friends, to hang out, to learn about the world, and to fight for economic freedom and personal liberty. There's no other show like the Wake Up America show. There's no other host like me, Austin Peterson. I've got no boss, nobody telling me no. I can talk about what I want to talk about, and I have free speech thanks to Rumble and thanks to X. Appreciate everybody like Chris Pavlovsky. Thank you to Elon Musk. Thank you to all of our friends who have supported us for the last 2 years. Without you, we're not here. We'll see you guys right back here tomorrow. It's Big Brain Time, Wednesday. Judge Napolitano, is he going to get mad at me again because I ask him tough questions? I hope not. We'll see you guys right back here tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Love you all on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network.
And I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor of your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
Welcome to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every note tells a story. We embrace all singers, from the enthusiastic shower vocalists to aspiring stars, ensuring each voice finds its unique rhythm and tone. Are you ready to elevate your voice? Visit petersonvoicestudio.com and sign up for remote lessons tailored just for you. Let's begin this melodious journey together.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at ap4libertyshop.com.
Don't forget, with over 6,000 people watching us live over on x.com, good morning, that as you exit the show, you have to exit through what we call the Grift Shop at forlibertyshop.com. The number 4libertyshop.com. Head on over to the Wake Up America Show's merchandise shop. If you do, you'll see it's the attack of the zombie redcoats. But don't panic, everybody. Freedom will protect you. Gear up. It's time for Liberty Halloween. You can get 10% off of our Halloween collection if you use the code PUNKIN. Yes, PUNKIN. Punkin. Halloween is coming. You want to wear your No Lives Matter shirt all throughout the season? Yes, you do. Or how about the government is scary, T? Due to inflation, this is my Halloween costume. Or perhaps an American Skull patriotic tee. Or, well, we sold one of these yesterday, a Make America Goth Again shirt. Yes. Crying is free speech. I have no idea how that ended up in the Halloween collection, but if you want to, you can get 10% off with the code PUNKIN. We've got a lot more fun stuff in our Halloween collection. Head on over to 4libertyshop.com. That's the number 4libertyshop.com. We got all kinds of fun and funny merchandise over there. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching the Wake Up America show. Don't forget, exit through the Grift Shop, 4libertyshop.com. Click like. Follow my channel at AP for Liberty. And thanks to these, I'm imagining that what happened is that Javier Milei of Argentina must have reposted the Wake Up America show because we were talking about him earlier. So thank you to Javier Milei of Argentina. That's how 6,000 some odd hundreds of people are probably tuning into the show. So if you're joining me from Argentina this morning, buenos dias. Glad to have you here. I hope that I'll see you again, and you'll follow my channel at AP for Liberty, and we'll see you right here tomorrow on the Wake Up America show. South America is America after all, on the For Liberty Network. Goodbye, guys.